I'm back with another review, and today that is on Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. So this was another book I read for my book club that I'm a member of down at the local Waterstones. And well, the advantage of book club is that you read books that you otherwise usually wouldn't pick up, at least in my case. And sometimes it turns out really well, and you discover a new book that you really love and you wouldn't have picked up otherwise. And sometimes it turns out less well, and you read a book that is interesting to have read, but didn't make much of an impact. And otherwise, and for me, Olive Kitteridge unfortunately fell into the latter category. So the book is about the titular Olive Kitteridge, who is a retired school teacher living in a small town in Maine. And although it's sold as a novel, and in fact the blurb even says, as perfect a novel as you ever read, it's really more of a short story collection, and it's a bit in the kind of more old-fashioned TV show style of things, in the sense that each chapter is its own kind of self-contained episode, but there is in the background kind of a character progression going on, so things that happen in an episode do kind of carry over to the next one, but there's no cliffhangers or really other connections. Each chapter kind of stands on its own as a short story. Each chapter is also written from a different point of view, so we do get a number of chapters that are all from Olive's point of view, but the rest of the chapters are all from point of view of different characters, and in some cases like there's a one sentence reference to Olive and the rest of the story is not about her at all. So, and that makes the a bit strange why they're calling it a novel and why it's named after Olive Kitteridge. Like the ones where she gets a very brief mention, it's not like she had a huge impact on people's lives at all, so it was a bit odd. Also, last chapter, all of a sudden you kind of get a recap as it, kind of like previously on Olive Kitteridge, which is, fine if it was like a series of short stories which were published separately, but in the last chapter of a novel you're like, yeah, I just read the last book, read this book, I already knew that happened. So for me that didn't work so well. If I think of it as a short story collection, I think it works better for me. So like all the individual stories were nice enough, there were kind of slices of life, of goings on and following different characters in this town in Maine. They were nice enough, they were kind of on themes and topics that I'm not really that interested in, so there's a lot of kind of old people being disappointed with how their life turned out and maybe trying to find ways to fix that, which is just kind of not my thing. I mean, it was otherwise well done. I think the characters were quite good and believable. The writing style is kind of unassuming, which fits the characters and the location. So, there's no big flowery poetic language, but this is kind of a quiet beauty to how things are described, which fits this kind of little unassuming town, coastal town in Maine. Yeah, so one other main theme running through the book, which is never really drawn attention to, but it's very much there, is mental health. So we have lots of characters who have mental health issues of various kinds, and it's kind of going on in the background, and it's never really highlighted, but if you are even a little bit alert for it, you'll notice it's there, and it's kind of heartbreaking sometimes. You just wish people could get the help that they needed to deal with these things. And an interesting thing is kind of one of the barriers that stops people from getting help is kind of the language that is used around mental health. Again, it's not something that's explicitly highlighted, but if it's there, you kind of see that a lot of the people, especially Olive herself and the older people, but even the younger people, find the language kind of off-putting because it's all described in really clinical terms. There's a young woman at some point with anorexia, and then she is at the hospital and she's cutting her muffin up when she gets a muffin, which she's not supposed to do. She's just supposed to eat it, and then it's described as she's not supposed to engage with her food, and kind of that terminology just kind of really puts people off. And there are more points in the book where the words used to describe mental health are very off-putting, and that's, I don't know, because I guess people feel either that it's too clinical or it's kind of divorces it from their daily expectations, and that's something that stops them from really taking mental health seriously, I think, and seeking help or understanding that help might need to be sought. So I thought that was an interesting point the book was making. Other than that, I think it was a well-written book, and if it's the kind of story that appeals to you, it's definitely worth a read. But in the end, just wasn't the book for me. So, that was my thoughts on Kitteridge. Hopefully the next book will turn out better for me. In the meantime, if you have read this book or seen the TV show, because I think it was made into a TV show, do leave me a comment down below, letting me know your thoughts, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye bye!